Hello everyone. My voice isn't exactly 100% yet, so sorry if it sounds different at all. I'm gonna have a longer video out after this one. I'm just waiting for my voice to recover. I hope you all have a great day and enjoy this story. If you're interested in what I look like, then make sure you check out my Instagram at Joe the Insomniak. I was 17 at the time. I just got on my first job. I lived in Western Virginia, in a small mountain community. My mum's best friend owned a camping resort not far from my house that had a general store. She said she'd pay me to help out in the store during the busy months in the summer. It was a pretty easy job, and I met a lot of out-of-towners, which was nice because our community gets so isolated. Most of us live really far from each other. Now one day, a big burly mountain man come into the store. He's in his early 50s and probably 6'5" and about 280 pounds. He looked dirty, like he worked outside a lot. His clothes are tattered and he wears a long beard. He looked like a woodsy hermit person. He brought some basic items, one of which was a homemade soap bar, when he came to the register. Now he looks at me carefully and says, "Did you make this soap?" "Possibly. Yeah, I do sometimes." "You make a lot of your own stuff?" "Yeah, kinda." "I like that a lot," he said, nodding to himself. I honestly didn't know how to reply. I quickly rung up his items and paid with the crumply money that he had. Right before he left, he said, "You cook too?" "Sometimes." "Bet the boys around here are itching to marry you," he said as he smiled to himself. I was puzzled as to what I said that stood out as wife material. I told my friend's boss about the bizarre encounter and she laughed at it. But then, the mountain man started turning up more often than not. We chatted a little here and there, and as I found out, he had a cabin in the woods. He claimed he built it with his bare hands. He said he hunted and lived off the land, other than the things he brought to the store. Over time our chatter escalated, with him making comments about how nice it would be to have a woman like me up there making things for him. One time he even said, "birthing hips that men lust after." God, so creepy. He even started inviting me to fish with him, hunt, etc. I politely declined, but he got more and more insistent, and I told my boss how weird I felt. The intensity with which he said things really started to scare me. She actually said to me that when he came in, go get her and she would ring things up. Thanks, I said. I started speaking to him less, and I thought that I wouldn't have to deal with him anymore. But one night, I was closing up, and it's late. Around 10 at night. The other worker left before. I was by myself. The only two cars in the front of the store were an old blue pickup and mine. I was immediately alarmed because I knew the mountain man drove one, but I didn't see him in the parking lot, just his car, so maybe, just maybe it's okay. So I quickly walk up to my car and check the back seat before I start her up. But that very moment I turned the ignition, I got nothing but shudders. And my car won't start. It's weird that I had a weird feeling as I was doing so and the car didn't start. Of all nights, why is this happening now? I remembered asking myself angrily, just as I was reaching for my phone to call for help. There's a loud pounding on the driver's side window. I'm shocked that I don't wet myself. I don't even want to look, because I know it's him. But I did. And my suspicions are confirmed. He has a huge grin on his face, showing me his teeth which are missing. And needs some help. He said loudly through the window. I shook my head furiously. My dad's on the way, I said, hoping to scare him off. I hadn't spoken to my dad in years. A smile comes across his face. No he's not. Open the door. The hairs on the back of my neck stood up straight. Did he know I was bluffing? No, I said firmly, leave me alone. Suddenly he's angry. He pulled the handle hard, but I locked the door first. He kept furiously pulling the handle and started pounding on the window. Leave now or I'm calling the cops, I screamed. He doesn't get the message, so I pulled out my phone and called 911. I must have sounded hysterical to the dispatcher. I knew she could hear him pounding. She said that they would have an officer out there ASAP, but that could be a while out here. The cops are here, leave now, I screamed at Mountain Man, who didn't seem to let anything deter him. But after a moment or few, he stopped. He suddenly walks back to his truck and I watched him go. Hopefully he leaves me. But then, he started walking back towards me with a crowbar in his hand. No! Get away from me! I screamed. He started swinging at the driver's side window with the crowbar. I ducked down into the passenger seat of the floor and covered my head for dear life. I hear the sickening crack of the window. I know I'm seconds away from death now, but not for long. I heard a male voice shouting, telling him to get away from the car. I see two men approaching, one with a shotgun. I instantly recognize them as people camping nearby. I breathe a sigh of relief and get out of the car, telling them the police are coming. I thank them profusely and wait for the police. Surprisingly, Mountain Man didn't make a move. The cops appeared quickly after, so he didn't have much of a chance. They took him away, and I gave my statement. I was pretty shaken up thereafter. After a few weeks, I finally got the scoop on the man. Apparently, he had a history of mental illness and had been in and out of institutions. He had really been living in an old cabin in the woods where he didn't take meds. My cousin Luke is a cop, and later told me more about the case. The police did a search of the cabin to see if there's anything interesting. Apparently, he kept a journal on me, how he wanted me to be his wife. He mentioned my name a lot, and Luke said there's lots of weird things he didn't want to share with me about what he saw, but tried putting them simply by saying that he had a detailed plan of how to abduct me, starting with sabotaging my car engine to get me into a vulnerable position. When Luke told me that, I burst into tears, thinking just how horribly things could have went that night. Thankfully, he's been put back into a state institution. With any luck, he'll get the help he needs.